Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Zara, Bobbi Brown's pro makeup artist, and today I am talking all about an in-depth way to conceal your pigmentation and blemishes on the skin. If that sounds like something right up your street, keep watching. The first thing you want to do when you are prepping your skin to conceal any blemishes and pigmentation is your skin prep, and it's making sure that you prep and hydrate those areas really well. So I've done my normal skincare with my moisturizer, serum, eye cream, etc. Now I'm gonna go the extra step and I'm gonna go in with our extra face oil. And I know it's an oil and it sounds like you're putting oil on top of a potentially oily skin. However, pigmentation and blemishes generally tend to be a slightly drier texture. You can have a feel of them. The ones that I have at the moment, my blemishes that are sort of healing, they have gone really dry and it's almost a little bit scabby. And in terms of my pigmentation that I have over here, it's a slightly lighter pigmentation. The texture is a touch drier than the rest of my face. So if you go ahead and just pop on your normal skincare without the extra prep on your blemishes and pigmentation, what's going to happen is any product that you put on, any foundations, concealer, it's going to really cling to it, and then you'll be able to see the texture of the product, therefore bringing more attention to the blemishes and pigmentation. So I've just done a little drop of the oil on my plate, and I'm just going to take it right around these areas where I have the blemishes, because I'm going to be putting more coverage on those areas and less coverage on the rest of my face. And the extra face oil is a dry oil, so it doesn't feel sticky or oily on the skin. So right here, this is where my slight pigmentation is. It tends to flare up more when there's a lot of sun. So it's also making sure that you apply an SPF. If you are prone to hyperpigmentation, definitely wear an SPF to protect the skin. Now for foundation, I've gone ahead and I've taken my serum foundation and my illuminating moisture balm, and I'm mixing one pump of each together to make almost like a glowy tinted moisturizer. So with my brush, I'm just going to mix that together on my plate, and then I'm going to go in with the brush. I still have some product on here, so I'm going to go straight into my skin. And you don't want to worry so much about any blemishes or pigmentation yet. The reason why I'm applying the foundation first of all is just to get a really even layer all over my skin. So just place it on, and I'm going to you can take your sponge, your brush, whatever it is, and just pat that into the skin so it creates this really nice soft layer all over. And you want to avoid the under eyes because we're going to do correcting and concealing underneath the eyes. So avoid your under eyes with any foundation. So you can see it just creates a little bit of that even layer, and then go ahead and do that on the other side. Now that we've got that nice even layer of foundation on the skin, this is going to be a really important part, the corrector. So if you've not heard of a corrector before, what it does is it corrects the undertone of the skin to correct darkness underneath the eyes, pigmentation, redness on the skin. I've gone in with my light to medium peach corrector, and this is really great to cover up any of that darker pigment, like that darker brown pigment. So I'm going to take this on my under eyes first, and I'm going to use my full coverage touch-up brush so that I can just softly build the product rather than having too much all in one go. Just patting it right underneath my eyes first because that's where I get a lot of darkness, and I'll show you the difference. It's unbelievable what a corrector will do. Look at the difference already between this eye and that one. It's just so much brighter. Okay, so the same thing, you're going to take the corrector on any areas that you have your pigmentation or your blemish. So for me, you can see those darker pigments around here and my pigmentation on here. So I'm just going to pat that on first. And you want to pat the product on. This is really important because if you start to buff it, you're basically putting it where you want it and then buffing it away from that area. So just press the product on, and don't worry if you can see that peachy tone to the skin. That's okay because you're going to use a concealer on top in any case. You always want to pair your corrector with a concealer. So just pat that right on top of my blemish and then buff around the edges, and then do that with all your blemishes and pigmentation. Look how well that corrector completely takes away that pigmentation from the skin. It's almost like it's completely disappeared. Obviously throughout the day makeup does move, so you want to make sure that you're building on top of those blemishes to make sure that they stay on all day. So that's what I'm going to carry on doing. I'm going to go in with my instant full cover concealer in Honey, and I'm just going to go underneath my eyes and anywhere else I want like a tiny bit more coverage. So just underneath the eyes, because like I said, you always want to wear a corrector with your concealer. Sorry, a concealer with your corrector. And don't worry about the blemishes yet, because I'm going to cover them in a slightly different way. And then you can go ahead and blend that out as well. So when concealing your blemishes and pigmentation properly, I always recommend using just a fluffy eyeshadow brush, anything that you have. And you want to go into the concealer, just a small amount. And the reason why you use a fluffy brush is so that it very softly applies the concealer on the blemish and then at the same time just buffs it out. So just dab it on and then press around it. And this is using the same instant full cover concealer. And you want to just blur the edges. So you want to make sure that you're getting your concealer really exact to your skin tone, otherwise it's going to look obvious on the skin when you're trying to conceal a bumpy area. I feel so much better. I can't see my pigmentation, I can't see my blemishes. It's been concealed really well, and now you want to make sure that that's all locked in. So we're going to go on to powder, and I'm going to use two different types of powder. The first powder I'm going to use is my sheer press powder in pale yellow, and this is just a translucent powder. It's very soft, so it's not going to give you any coverage. It is just going to take away any oily shine on the skin. So let's just take a soft blending brush. This is my eye blender brush. Take a really small amount and just take away any excess shine on the skin. Like I said, you'll see that this doesn't give you any actual coverage. It is just taking away the shine on the skin. So just take that around all my oily areas. So my nose, in this part of my face, and I like the pale yellow because I find that it just brightens up the skin. So just push the powder. And now the next powder that I'm going to go into is a foundation powder. So this is the Skin Weightless powder. It's very loved. But this is a foundation powder. So this is actually going to give you skin coverage. And this is just going to be on the areas that I have my blemishes or my pigmentation, because I really want to give that area a bit more coverage and less coverage on the rest of my face. So where I have those blemishes, I'm just going to take my full coverage touch-up brush and I'm just going to dab it right on the top, and it's just going to lock everything that I've done previously to conceal this right in the skin. But you don't want to put this powder everywhere, because obviously it's going to give you more coverage. So it's going to make you look like you've got fuller coverage everywhere, which is not what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to just show you how to conceal without having tons and tons of coverage on the skin. So you've still got the glow on your skin. It still looks really healthy, not heavy duty, but everything that you want to cover up is concealed and it doesn't look like there's anything there, which is really great. Now I'm going to go into bronzer, highlighter, and blusher. This is also a very important part of it, because you'll find that you take the time to cover up all the blemishes, pigmentation, and then you just go crazy on the bronzer, blusher, and highlighter. And actually that can bring back the focus to your blemishes if you don't do it properly. So I'm going to start with highlighter first. And I'm going to use my Bronze Glow highlighter over here. The key thing that you want to make sure you're doing is that you're avoiding any areas where you have the blemish or pigmentation, because anything really shimmery is going to bring up texture in the skin. And I am just going to take it right on the areas where I would normally highlight, so up on the cheekbones, but I'm going to avoid anywhere that I've got a lot of blemishes or pigmentation. But you see, I would normally take highlighter on my chin area, but because I am breaking out quite a lot on my chin, I'm going to completely avoid that. So I'm going to bring a majority of the attention right onto my nose area. So right onto the bridge. With my finger, I'm going to take a little bit onto the peak of my nose. So I'm almost using the highlighter to pull towards the areas that I don't have any blemishes. And you can also take it right into the inner corners of the eyes too. So now when I go onto the other side, I have 2 blemishes that are sitting exactly where I highlight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on highlighting the area, but I'm going to avoid and almost like skip those 2 blemishes. So I'm going to take it right onto my cheek, down underneath the blemish, and then skip it and go up high onto these areas here. And you can see you get the glow, but it doesn't bring out the texture back into those blemishes. So the next one I'm going to go into is the Sunset Glow, which is more of a pinky highlighter. This one over here, and then it's exactly the same thing. I'm just going to use a tapered brush for it because I like to do it almost like a pre-blush. I'm just going to smile, pat that right onto this cheek here. Again, I like doing this kind of bouncing motion so I don't take off any of the product underneath. And same thing on the other side, but again, avoiding those 2 blemishes that I have and just working around them. And if you do get a little bit of product on top of the blemish accidentally, I would just go back into your setting powder and just add a little bit more just to mattify that area. I'm going to go into a powder bronzer. You can do powder or cream, it doesn't matter. The main thing is, again, how you apply it on. And I'm going to go into the color Deep. Okay, so now when we're going onto the cheek, we're just going to do this bouncing motion to make sure that we don't disturb what I concealed on that pigmentation area. We're just going to bounce it on, and the bronzer is matte, so it is going to create more of a smoother texture on the skin. And then I'm going to take it down the chin area, but again, being really careful with this because that is the area where I have the most breakouts. I'm going to use a cream blusher, but it's not shimmery, and this is the Pale Pink Pot Rouge. Really nice and bright, but because it's not a shimmery product, I don't have to worry so much about it bringing any texture up on my skin. I'm going to use the same brush, which is the sheer powder brush. Smile and really press and bounce that onto the apples of the cheek. Now, if you do get one of those blemishes that are just a pain, you can't seem to cover it out, it's really raised, you can actually go in with an eyeshadow and turn it into a mole. So I've just got the shadows that I've got for my brow, and I'm going to mix the 2 colors together and just make a little mole basically. Be really careful and just pop a little dot on it. Like that. And to find the right color for you, you just want to look at your natural moles that you have and see what kind of colors they are. So just with a fluffy brush, I'm just going to tap a little bit of powder on top. So then I'm going to take what was left on my brush, which was my blusher, and I'm just going to tap that right on the top really gently, just to add that last step back on it. So here is the completed look. If you enjoyed this type of tutorial, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Please do comment below as well if you have any ways that you conceal your blemishes and pigmentation that I haven't gone through. I'd love to know as well, and let me know if this technique worked out for you. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!